evening, everybody. So how good is it to be sitting beside people without a mask, right? It's a pleasure to be back live and in person, and we're staying diligent, but it feels good to have everybody gathered today. And with everything that we do from this perspective when we do an event like this, our sponsor generosity really does make everything possible. And I just wanted to give a round of applause to all of our major sponsors, if you will. Now, I'm sure you will agree with me, when you look back in that room that we just came out of, it's important that we realize this amazing group of hospitality industry that came together when they're hit very, very dramatically with staffing shortages. It's a Friday night, and yet they all answered the call and came to do a tasting to support the Chamber of Commerce. And I would ask you guys, thank you so much for coming. The food was amazing. That was the Taste of the Chamber, and you know the word gets out when you do something like the Taste of the Chamber, because I think I saw a crown walking by here a little earlier. I think Molly Solano, Miss Middlesex County, even came. Molly, welcome. Okay, so as we get going here, I want to bring up, and Steve, you were supposed to introduce me. Where's Steve Messinio? Oh, all right, come on up, Steve, come on up. I'd like to introduce you to the 2022 Chairman of the Board, Steve Messinio with Sitara Systems, who actually took over the reins coming out of the pandemic from Tim Nelson and has been doing a phenomenal job. And he wanted to say a quick couple words before we got into the program.
Thank you, Rob. Good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Messinio, as Rob was saying, and it's been an honor to serve as the chairman of the board this year and really see what's going on with the chamber and seeing that this event come to fruition and see how all the hard work Rob and the team in the chamber has been doing to make this a great event and coordinating with our fellow chamber members to put on a good time, get us all together and really, connect, get back to that face-to-face connecting that we've all been starving for the last 2 years, right? So I am just really pleased to be here tonight. Welcome everybody to the chamber. Certainly it's a tribute to all of you for coming out here on a Friday night to celebrate some really great people, and I'm really excited to hear what the speakers have to say and celebrate the people that deserve the rewards that we're handing out tonight. And so that's it. I'm not going to spend any more time here. I just want to say thank you everybody for coming, and I'm going to turn it back over to Rob. You guys have a great evening.
Okay, so if you look up on the wall right now, I just want to acknowledge, after that slide, our sponsors. I know she's being driven crazy. Next one, we want to thank sponsors, but more importantly, we thank the restaurants again. And on the next slide, that chamber event was spectacular. I think based on your feedback when you give it, we're going to determine if that's a format we want to do going in the future. So next slide, I just wanted to make it known. They look very calm and innocent right there, but this chamber staff is responsible for everything that happened tonight. Their efforts are tireless. They keep me on my toes, and without them, none of this would be possible. So Jennifer and Melissa and Vicky, stand up and just take a bow. Thank you so much for everything that you did. Okay, and when you leave, each of you will be receiving a parting gift, and both the centerpiece candles and one of your gifts is supplied by one of our newer businesses in Marlborough. It's Dancing Orchid Soapworks, and Patricia Murray, where are you? Thank you so much for providing that, and best of luck in your new venture. And obviously the Portuguese Club was kind enough to rally when we first talked to them about holding this event. They were really, except for the restaurant, not open, but committed to rally and put this thing together with us, and we're very thankful to Maria and her staff. So thank you very much, Maria. All right, so you're going to hear a lot about the next portion this evening. This is a celebration, all right? And it's a celebration about overcoming one of the most challenging periods in human history, and the wide range of industries and companies and civic leadership that united in amazing ways to get us through it. And before we get into the awards and welcome our keynote speakers, you'll notice that our membership anniversaries have been scrolling up, through the wall for the remainder of the evening. It's a really impressive list of tenure that our members have supported the Chamber's mission literally for decades. And we celebrate their commitment and their loyalty, tonight as well. There's one anniversary, though, that definitely warrants acknowledgement. And I know you're going to join me in recognizing Central Auto Rebuilders. The initial date that they joined the Chamber was 1961. That's a 60-year anniversary, and representing Central Auto, Dominic Valerati, if you'd come up and accept your certificate, outstanding. That's a lot of years, Dominic, and you look great. All right, so that's a great way to start the celebration off. So let's get through just want to acknowledge, listen, all the nominees here tonight, remember, are nominated by the membership, okay? And 2021, it's funny how we forget what we were all going through, how quickly, but this is a special bond that are shared by all these folks, because their peers represented them during the most difficult and challenging business environment that anyone can remember. And this certainly makes the nominations even more significant as we review all of the nominees with the highest regard and the appreciation for their efforts. And the membership has voted on the winners, and we're very excited to share the news. So I'd like to ask that all the anniversary celebrants that are here tonight, as well as the winners of the events, join us after we conclude around the bar area for some photos after we get done the program. So let's get started. So the first category is Small Business of the Year, and you see the candidates up on the wall. We have Chill Kitchen. John, I know, is still here, and what fantastic work he did. We have Dairy Queen, Bowditch and Dewey, New Horizons at Marlborough, and Albro Doors Auto Body. Thank you, Jennifer. Nobody come up and slap me, by the way. And the winner is Albro Doors Auto Body. Okay, next is the Entrepreneur of the Year. And the nominees are Knotty Pine Design and Consignment, Ardent Staffing, Synergy Wellness, Dancing Orchid Soapworks, and Tacklebox Brewing Company. And this was hotly contested, I might add. And by the way, all these entrepreneurs did an amazing year of launching their businesses during the pandemic. And the winner is Adam Krasinski from Tacklebox Brewing Company. Okay, next event, Business Person of the Year. And the nominees are David and Darlene Welsh from Minuteman Press, Richard Tomanek, Embassy Suites, David Kennedy, Kennedy's Restaurants, Chris Dwayne from the Metro West Boys and Girls Club, and Tom Wolper from the New England Innovation Academy. And the winner is Richard Tomanek from Embassy Suites. Okay, and a new award that we created this year is in memoriam of Ann Scott, who we lost this past year and remember her very, very fondly. And the nominees, and I gotta say, all of these folks just do amazing things at giving back to different causes. I know it's cliche, but every one of these folks being nominated is a winner in their own right. Stevie Dembro, Stevie's Eatery, who feeds so many people during the pandemic. Elaine McDonald, representing Rotary. Jay and Heather Johnston for Kits for Kids. Cheryl Jouar for Team Sharing. And Mark Vital, who does an amazing job at giving back, Sweats for Vets, among other causes. And the winner is Mark Vital. I just go out of line to keep Emily on her toes, that's all. Okay, last one is Business of the Year. And the nominees are the American Heritage Museum, Hologic, Main Street Bank, St. Mary's Credit Union, and Cytiva. And by the way, when we were doing these awards, I saw that Hologic had distributed 150 million COVID tests in 50 countries when we were doing so congratulations there. And the winner is the American Heritage Museum and Collings Museum, or Collings Foundation. Okay, two more to go. So the President's Award is awarded for the Outstanding Member of the Year, and it's selected actually by me after careful consideration of an individual who exemplifies outstanding informal leadership, not only to the Board of Directors, but also as well as active involvement in chamber business and its impact in the community. And we're fortunate to have so many dedicated board members and members with the unique challenges that were presented to the Chamber in 2021. This year's recipient was and always has been a very calming voice and counsel to me through some very, very difficult challenges and obvious unprecedented impact on our lives due to the pandemic. I can always count on this individual for thoughtful insight, confident counsel, and very grateful to have his perspective and friendship as we continue to move through to recovery in our business community. So please join me in congratulating John Logomassini as the recipient of the 2021 President's Award for Outstanding Member of the Year. Okay, finally, and I'll get out of your way and let the interesting speakers come up. The final Chamber Business Award is the Lifetime Achievement Award. And our Lifetime Achievement Award is presented annually to the individual whose exceptional lifetime contributions to the Chamber and the community demonstrate a consistent commitment to and in support of the Chamber's mission, programs, and activities. Throughout the years, this individual served on committees, has given great counsel and insight to the Chamber, along with such a positive can-do attitude that is very infectious. It's for this individual's contributions over the entirety of their career and the consistent display of high standards and business practices that we proudly present the Chamber's Lifetime Achievement Award to Emily Greenwood. Hopefully that made up for my mistakes on the script. Okay, so this celebration is always very, very meaningful, and to all our nominees, your courage, leadership, and perseverance through this challenging year has been truly amazing. Thank you all, and congratulations to you all for being recognized. Okay. Well done. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker who guided the city of Marlborough through unprecedented times, obviously. And I wanted first, before I bring up the mayor, to read an excerpt from an email that I received earlier when they knew that Arthur was coming to speak. And I quote, "For the 2 years we've been trying to manage this pandemic, Arthur Vigent has been rock solid in his leadership for the schools. Mayor Vigent consistently gave us room to get creative, to think of new ways to deliver constituent and student services, and gave me the confidence he would support our schools and kids every day. It did not matter if it was early in the morning, late at night, weekends. Mayor took my calls and listened to us. He helped push us through barriers each day and focus on trying to do the right thing for the kids. When I look back at this pandemic, I appreciate that he made himself available 24/7 to all his department heads and I. His support made all of our jobs easier during a very stressful period of our lives," and that came from Superintendent of Marlborough Schools, Michael Bergeron. So it's my pleasure to have Mayor Arthur Vigent share some of his thoughts and join us this evening. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And right after he sent that, he gave me his resignation and said he's leaving the end of June. So how much am I happy with him right now? You know, when Rob asked me to come and speak on a few things, it really has been a crazy whirlwind of activity the last couple of years. And, you know, I'm sure everyone in this room has stories. And it seems like it's been like 10 years since this thing started and we've all been going through it. So I actually went back on my Outlook calendar to find out how things were going back then and kind of look at how it progressed and how quickly it progressed. My first call on COVID was actually with the hospital on March 9th. And after that point, we had daily calls for months. And they were always there. I can't thank the hospital enough for what they did for us with the vaccines, with the testing. From day one, they were contacting our office all the time, offering more services. But that's what our Marlborough Hospital did for the city of Marlborough. Now, more importantly than that, that weekend was supposed to be the mayor's ball. That Saturday night, and I'm sure some of you were going, or some of you were actually involved in the process and the meetings and everything. And we had our last meeting on Wednesday night, the 11th, and it was determined at that time, we're moving forward. There was some pushback by the committee members. I didn't go to the meeting because I'm not allowed at meetings, but they came in and they said, no, we're ready to go. Thursday morning, my assistant Trish and Meredith Harris walked in my office with a frown on their face. And as much as I love all these restaurants that are out there, and we had fantastic food tonight, they said we have to cancel the ball because the restaurants aren't able to come through with their staff. They're having trouble cooking the food. So it was determined on Thursday for a Saturday night ball, after all the effort went into it, that it was going to be canceled. And it was a real tough decision, but it was the right decision at that time. On the 13th of March was my first call with DPH. I held my press conference on it on my birthday, on March 16th, to let the city know what we were doing and how we were going to progress through this. We immediately assembled all of our union leaders for both the city and the schools. I brought them all in individually and asked them to please help us get through this. I don't need any grievances. I don't need anything else. They all stood up and said, whatever you need to do, we'll figure it out later. They promised me there'd be no pushback at all through this entire thing. And if there was something, I told them that they could file everything later on, and none of them have ever filed anything with my office. They all stepped up to the plate. All the city employees, all the department heads were fantastic with the city. It really showed how great we have for employees. I immediately put together my first meeting with my emergency planning team on March 20th, and from that point on, we were meeting anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. And I also wanted to mention those calls with the hospital, they were 7 days a week. And for the heck of it, I took a look at Easter Sunday, and we had a call on Easter Sunday. It was every day letting us know what their feedback was, because obviously they were an important part of the whole thing. The school department stepped up to the plate, and because we educate and transport all our kids, we basically do 100% buses for all our students. The superintendent came up with this plan that we would send food home on the buses through the reverse bus route and just start giving out meals to all the kids that were outside. The parents could go outside, the kids could go outside, and we'd hand them as many meals as they needed. Our custodian staff would fill the buses. Our cafeteria staff was unbelievable. They provided over 200,000 meals to the families in the city. And we didn't care if they asked for 2 or 12, we'd give them to them. And we just figured government needed to continue to run. So we continued to have Zoom meetings, but it was interesting looking at my calendar. The first week was kind of mixed. The second week, there was less appointments. By the third week, there was nothing on my schedule but COVID Zoom calls and Teams calls. It was really amazing taking a look how it changed so much. My right-hand man, Trish, she couldn't be here tonight, but she never took a day off. Her and I were in our office every day. We staggered shifts for many of our departments, especially payroll. You know, we never think about it. Well, how many people can run payroll? I must have 6 or 8 that can run payroll, so if 1 or 2 get it, not a big deal. I found out there were 2 in the city that could run payroll. That's changed. So we had to stagger days with the 2 of them, because if people weren't getting paid, that's when my unions probably would have got a little upset. But we staggered days with them. We had regular press conferences with the governor and lieutenant governor. TPH, and they sent down some things, but the hospital, we were having trouble setting up our testing site initially. The hospital stepped up to the plate. We had one of our hotels step up to the plate. We set the whole thing up, and Boston wasn't quite ready for us to start doing testing. So the hospital actually, we worked kind of around the system a little bit, and they went out and found their own testing kits, and we were up and open for business, using our own through the Edwin M. Kennedy Clinic. They did a fantastic job in providing what we needed through the federal government. It really has been a whirlwind, and I can't thank all the businesses that stepped up to the plate, my department heads, John Garside that heads up my health department, Mike Bergeron that heads up the school department that I'm not talking to because he's leaving next month. The police chief, the fire chief, they all needed to do their jobs. The DPW needed to go to work every day to keep the streets cleared for issues that were coming up along the way. So it was great to be able to lead a team like that actually stepped up to the plate. The city council, I went down the first meeting and asked them for a check for $100,000 because we had no idea what we were going to need for money and when we were going to need it. So I asked them for just a blank, basically a blank check to fill in later on, and they all stood up and supported it. So again, my colleagues, my elected official colleagues, the employees of the city of Marlborough, all the businesses out there that all really participated. I didn't get calls complaining about things. When they shut down the New England Sports Center, Wes Tuttle was still there. When I got a call from him, he's been a friend for life, so I never know what the hell he's going to ask me, but I said, geez, Wes, I'm sorry, they shut you down and you got some tournaments lined up, and he said, don't worry about that. What can we do for you from the New England Sports Center? And that's the type of people we have in the city and all the businesses in the city, and thank you all. It really was an experience I don't want to go through again, but if we have to, we can do it. Thank you.
Stay up there with me for 1 second. So, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of your leadership, I have a proclamation from the State House in Massachusetts. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offer its sincerest congratulations to the City of Marlborough in recognizing and receiving the Heroes Among Us Award from the Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce for the community leadership and perseverance you displayed through the pandemic. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all your endeavors. So that was a throwback to what we were going through, and it seems like a long time ago, but it was last year. And now it's my pleasure also to have a healthcare community leader representing UMass Memorial Hospital to give us an account of the real inside challenges he faced on the front line. So please join me in welcoming Steve Roach.
I just brought some water up because I'm probably going to dry up while I'm talking because I get going. I have ADD, so just bear with me a few minutes. What the mayor didn't tell you is he has that check in his office, and it's framed, and it's the first and last check that's going to be a blank check from the city. So, doing many of these public speaking things, I'm going to actually start initially just by thanking the people, because sometimes when I get droning on, I get tied up into what I'm going to talk about and forget to thank the people who really helped us during the pandemic. So I want to just make sure I reach out and thank them. I'm going to start first, obviously, the mayor. 47 straight days we were on the phone together, bud. We had a lot of times, a lot of discussions, and we really appreciate all the support you gave us. We would not have been able to do what we did without the mayor helping us with some of the code issues in town, making sure we could get access to the state to get vaccines, and we'll touch base on that a little bit more in my little remarks. Other elected officials, we had to scour the cupboards to find people to help us. As much as we were still in the office running hospitals, the State House was relatively closed. We had to find them. We drove to their houses. That's how we were conducting business at the time. We had to figure out ways to make things happen. I've had many meetings in driveways, and we worked through that. The Marlborough Board of Health, unbelievable. The tracing program they put into place for us, helping us track down any positives, who they may have been in contact with, making the phone calls, following up, unbelievable amounts of work they put in. The police, fire, and DPW, many times we had to have them support us. We had to have them help us with the testing sites, running traffic control, which I'll touch base on shortly. A lot of things, we couldn't have done it without them. And on top of that, what doesn't get talked about a ton right now, I'm sure you read it in the paper, is behavioral health. The uptick that occurred during the pandemic was unbelievable. We had kids that were not going to school, and that was their only resource. Their only resource to see a teacher, a counselor, anybody, a friend, another parent, because their parents were working or their parents weren't present. And on top of that, the stress that everybody else felt. So we had a lot of impact, people acting out in their ERs, and certainly there was a lot of stress across the community, and we needed that support to get through it. A special thanks, obviously, thank God part of their business was closed during the day, but the New England Sports Center. How many people here got a COVID test at the New England Sports Center? So we tested 148,000 people. And there's no way we would have been able to do it without their support in their parking lots. I've never seen us an efficient. We were testing 2,100 cars in less than 5 hours a day. And that was through early January, right, John? And one day we were all out there. I have my senior team here, and we were all there that day. It was -8 with a wind chill of -20, and we did 1,900 cars. So it was great, but there's no way we could have done it without the Sports Center being there and helping us and providing the space. So we really appreciate that partnership. The schools, and obviously the courtyard, Marriott Courtyard, for the help with putting together the vaccine center. Because even though we couldn't get vaccines for about 3 to 4 months, even though the mayor promised us we had an in, we did not have an in, but that's okay. He really worked hard to get it for us, and we appreciated everything. But we were able to find a loophole through the Edward M. Kennedy Health Center, so we were able to get a huge supply of vaccines. So we at the hospital did 25,000 people locally for vaccines, which is a great number compared to the community we serve, so it's great. Throughout the system, we did about 175,000 people, which is phenomenal for the hospitals. So I just want to make sure I thank them. So I'll touch base. I actually came in thinking I was just going to thank people and accept an award, and we'd be done on a Friday night and out of here. But I didn't know this was a Friday night when I accepted. So we're going to roll it for a little bit, talk to the stories, and tell you what's going on. And I'll give a little story about COVID. So to put it in perspective, I have a very tight relationship with COVID. I actually was presenting at the Chinese Hospital Association event in December of 2018 in Wuhan, China. And we were presenting in the building next door to the lab. So it was very interesting. We were not allowed into the lab, thank God, but we did a tour around the whole complex. There's multiple buildings there. So I came back here and spent a year, and then funny enough, I got my first bout of COVID in late February, 1st of March of 2020. Everybody forgets. Everybody says 21. It's COVID brain. It's 20. This is 2.5 years into the pandemic. And unfortunately, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. We're on our way up again. So, it'd be a good idea to remask, especially if you're in big places like this. I'm safe for at least 90 more days because I'm just recovering from a second bout of COVID. If you're traveling, don't go to France right now if you get COVID. It's a 10-day quarantine. But you can cheat the system and get to London and get back in 5 days. Don't tell anybody. You have to know the CDC rules and how you do it, but we were able to do that. I was just there, didn't even know I was sick. Thank God, I'll knock on wood, it was a good thing. But you gotta be careful right now. We're definitely in an uptick. The good news is we're not seeing it in the hospitals. It's very low in the hospitals, but it's gonna double in the next 2 weeks locally. So there will be COVID. Hopefully it won't impact anybody negatively. So I'm going to touch base a little bit on the hospital and what we did here. Not to put anybody, make any concern, but when the mayor talks about that phone call on March 9th, I was supposed to be on a plane to Puerto Rico on the 13th. Got a call on the 11th from the governor, said, you're not going anywhere, you need to stay, we're shutting the state down. Well, that's not a great call to get. We're sitting in a room trying to figure out what we're going to do. And as people who have never been through anything like this before, we had this deer to mirror. We're just looking at each other like, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? We've never been through it. Nobody has cared for these patients before. So we spent a lot of time doing research, identifying what we had to do, working with all the other hospitals. Who's been in the hospital before? A few people. Surprised you didn't start with that earlier. You always do. So when you're in our facility, we're a relatively older facility, working on a newer one. That's going to take a little bit, maybe 3 to 5 more years, but we're working through it. We had to create airflow because the only way you can prevent spread is by having air exiting to the outside of the organization. And we're required to have windows that do not open. Go figure, right? That made a lot of sense back in the day because it's air controlled, so we couldn't open the windows. So we actually went out and bought 45 HEPA filters, had a bunch of crew come in on a weekend, and we stuck them outside all the rooms and put in temporary air exchanges out to the outside. It's not by code, it's not legal. We'll just leave it at that. But we had a lot of waivers from the state, so we had to work through that. The amazing part is, as we did this, you can imagine the trust that the staff had to put in us to make these decisions to implement this stuff. Because they came to work every day putting their lives on the line. Healthcare workers, I'm not a clinician. You do not want me at your bedside. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm an administrator and that's what I do. But caring for patients takes a special person. The ability to care for people when you put your life on the line every day is otherworldly. They were there, they went through this, we're not done. Can you imagine the stress that everybody, all these frontline caregivers have? They haven't got a break. We're trying to give people vacations as we do, but the stupid virus keeps coming back. We try to get people breaks whenever we can, and please, 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 the most important piece is be patient with the staff when you come to the hospital. Nothing is fast right now. Testing takes a while, and we are jammed. Good, thank God we're jammed without COVID, but we're experiencing it. We have staff out with it. We're short-staffed like all of your businesses. Just be patient with them. They are a godsend to this community. Nurses, techs, aides, the doctors, housekeeping, food service, they are what makes the hospital work, and they really got us through the last 2.5 years. We would not be here without them. I'm going to get dry because I'm talking a lot. It's a side effect of COVID. If anybody's had it, you get very dry because it's a head cold. Just to reflect on the staff themselves, put it in perspective for what they went through. I will say we all had the COVID-20. Appreciate everybody donating food early on during COVID. We had daily deliveries of food, which really made a difference. It seems like it's a very small thing, but when you're working 12-hour shifts and the chances of getting off the floor because your patient could die, it made a difference to be able to have that food up there for them. They couldn't eat with anybody because we had to isolate them, but we were able to get them a break, put them in a room, let them have a snack, lunch, a meal, whatever. But it's that decency that went a long way. So it's the decency of the organizations. I know many of you here donated. I know many of the restaurants who served us food tonight donated. We are in debt to this community as much as you are to the caregivers. It's not to me, trust me. I'm the least important person in this room. all I did was guide things. The efforts and the focus that the staff did, you know, when they have to go home from work every day and take their clothes off in the garage or in the basement and change into clothing because they're not sure if they're going to bring COVID home. You don't want to bring COVID home to your family. You don't want to bring it home to your kids, especially if you have elderly people living with you. So it's very important to understand what they went through. I'm amazed at their efforts, and what's more amazing is they're still doing it. So thank you, obviously, for recognizing us for this award. We really appreciate being recognized for everything. What's more important is we're here for you. The hospital is still operating at full capacity. We've never shut down. We worked about 73 straight days as an organization, weekends, nights, everything. We took shifts as leaders in the organization, working overnights, just to make sure that the staff felt supported. So the most important thing here, if you see nurses, if you see caregivers, you see the front line, the police, the fire, those people who are out there dealing with it, just thank them. It's not done. It's not going to be done. We're going to live with this forever. Unfortunately, it's going to be more like the flu, which is a good thing. And you know, for those of you who are going to do the public service announcement now, get your booster. And if you've already had your booster, there's a really good booster coming out in the fall because the current line of boosters are based on the original format of the disease. What's coming out in the fall will be a wide spectrum. We'll cover a lot more coverage and get us back up into the high 90s. So if you can make it there, great. If not, get a booster today because you do want to protect yourself as much as you can. So thank you. Have a great night, and I don't want to keep you too long.
Thank you very much. I got something for you as well.
All right, Mr. Mayor, maybe we can take that check and allocate open bar at the end of the night after the reminder. Another State House to UMass Memorial Hospital recognizing Heroes Among Us award from the Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce for the community leadership and perseverance that you and your staff displayed through the pandemic. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so a couple quick notes. So first of all, to Steve's notes, it's very good to be brought back to reality. I would like to, have everybody associated now with either a first responder, medical profession, healthcare company, New England Sports Center, anybody who gave back efforts towards the pandemic. Please stand up so we can give you a round of applause. And also, I didn't want to lose sight either, the experience of leading the Chamber of Commerce. Every industry, in one way or another, stepped up. The banks, the printers, were so instrumental in coming and asking what they could do to get people through payroll, PPP loans, how to file. The efforts were absolutely amazing, and I was glad to be able to be a conduit for our membership because it helped a lot of people through a very, very difficult time. And the last thing I'll say is, I know when you come into something, this taste of the chamber, this hospitality industry, the best way that we can say thank you is to fill the seats in the restaurants that you just had. They have given and keep giving. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they got through what they went through, but it ranges all throughout the industries that are part of the chamber, and we are so grateful for the fellowship that we witnessed. So that concludes our formal celebration for the 2021 award ceremony, and during the pandemic crisis, I'll reiterate, it really was amazing to watch all segments of businesses and industries come together and find ways to deal with never before seen challenges. And to Steve's point, it's not over, but this is what makes us who we are. And on behalf of Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce, it really was an honor and a privilege watching the collective partnership and caring that brought us through to where we are today. You truly are all heroes among us, and we thank you for your support in coming out. So I'll ask that all the award recipients, and I also would like to recognize New England Sports Center and Hologic. If you could meet us afterwards, we also have State House acknowledgement of the efforts that you have put forth as well. So we invite you to stay for a beverage. We're going to put some music on if you want to let it go before hopefully we don't go into lockdown again. But thank you for coming. Drive safely, stay healthy, and please see members of our team on your way out to collect your gift. And thank you again so much for participating. Great to see everybody, and good night.